What's going on, everybody, and welcome into this edition of Card Central Postgame, which is brought to you by Hot Shots, and all the content here on STL Sports Central brought to you by DraftKings. The crown is yours. I'm Brenden Schaeffer, along with Grant Salsman. Eric, my guy, what was that? The Cardinals lose it 8-0 to the Cubbies tonight as the Cubs get their lick back, Grant, after what happened over the course of the first couple of games of this series and the season series. But this was just one of those games. Let us know in the comments section how you felt about Erick Fedde's outing. But I'll pose it to you, Grant. How'd you feel about Erick tonight?
Erick wasn't great.
No, he wasn't.
So, are you familiar at all with this? I'm not a superhero guy, but Erick Fedde feels like a certain old comic book villain that was Bizarro. Do you know? Do you know who that is? It's like Superman's bad guy.
I'm Googling it. Okay.
I used to compare the Bills quarterback Josh Allen to Bizarro.
And then he got good.
You'd get Superman Josh Allen, and sometimes you'd get bad Bizarro Josh Allen.
Okay.
Erick Fedde feels like Bizarro right now. 3 out of the 5 times it feels like you get good Erick Fedde. And then all of a sudden it's like the bad guy creeps in and it's 3 innings, giving up 7 earned runs or whatever the final stat line was tonight. Yeah. Erick Fedde. Like, it just feels like once every 4th or 5th start, you get this. Like, you know what I mean? And I feel a little bit with this Matthew Dimitri post that it felt like it felt like the game that was something like this was going to happen. Maybe not this bad, but it felt like it was coming.
Okay, I felt like the day for the lineup to struggle was coming today because I've said for the last few days previewing this matchup that I didn't think Matthew Boyd was going to match up for the Cardinals' perspective. For Matthew Boyd, it matched up very nicely. 6 shutout innings, only 3 strikeouts. So this is kind of a redux of what you saw in that Andrew Abbott game over the weekend. Tough lefty comes in, doesn't strike out a bunch, but pitches to the type of contact that he is looking for and had a lot of success. The Cardinal bats just didn't have it tonight, but when the Cubs score in each of the first 5 innings, sometimes you just kind of get a sense that it's not your night, and you start kind of getting those at-bats going, and then you get to go home. I don't know what else there was, and unfortunately, we're 3 minutes into the show, but that is kind of the way that I felt about tonight's game, where it's like, Fedde looked horrible. The balls were flying out just the way that they did for the Cardinals in the first 2 games. The Cubs got their opportunity tonight to have the home run parade. 3 home runs against Erick Fedde. And you mentioned it, there have been good times for Erick Fedde this year. I mean, for him to have a 3 2/3, allowing 7 earned runs, gave up a touchdown with John Gruden in the house. I don't know what kind of omen that is for his luck charm status amongst Cardinals Nation. But his ERA is 4.11 after that type of game, which is not great, but it's not what I would expect an ERA to be for a guy that just gave up a touchdown and didn't get through the 4th. So he's obviously had good games. Tonight was not one of them.
Yeah, in his last 5 outings, 5 innings, 1 earned run, 5 1/3, 3, 5 1/3, 0, 6 2, 5 3. Like, you would take a lot of those outings in isolation, at least 3 or 4 of them. It hasn't all been bad. And I guess the one positive you can say, at least everything was bad today. It would have sucked worse if you gave up 8 runs and at least the offense put together 4 or 5 and you lose. Like, if you're going to have an off day, at least everything is an off day to this point. Like, you scored 0, it would have sucked to lose 2-0. 8-0 It doesn't feel as bad. Today it feels like, all right, let's just 16 hours from now, less than that. Yeah, 16 hours, we got another one. Let's go some sleep,
and
win.
They play 162 of these. Even the Dodgers, even the best teams in the league, are going to lose about 60 of those games. So there are going to be 60 nights for even the best team in baseball throughout a summer where their fans are upset. But Jeremy seems to be upset. And he's not upset just at the Cardinals players, right? He's upset at us. It's the media's fault. He says, let me guess, tip your cap. Here's my thing. Look at how the Cardinals have won 2 of 3 in this series. Over the weekend against the Reds, they took 2 of 3. They swept the White Sox. Like, those are the recent performances for this Cardinals team. Is it allowable for us to have a reaction every once in a while in the midst of a really good stretch where the team has showed you what they're capable of to go, ran into a tough pitcher tonight, didn't have your A lineup out there, tip your cap? I want to know from the Cardinals fans in this chat, is that an acceptable way to feel, or does that burn you out when we start talking like that and we say tip your cap? Because look, Matthew Boyd has gotten to a lot of lineups this year, right? Like he's been able to hold down a lot of good teams. He's got an ERA in like the mid twos at this point. So that's something that he's done to not just the Cardinals. And sometimes you go, yeah, it's a good pitcher. Your approach wasn't as good as his approach. He's getting paid on the other side as well. You can't say that every night, but we're not saying it every night. The Cardinals have been on a pretty good stretch. And tonight I'm looking at it going, well, Fedde stunk, so you weren't going to win anyway. You'd like to see the lineup put up a little bit of a fight, but you also look at it and say, when you're down 8-0, did I expect the Cardinals to turn around and come back into that game? No, there's a limit to their powers. Aaron, he's our favorite mad guy here in the chat, and he's mad at you, Grant. 8-0 doesn't feel bad. I guess if you're not a real fan, Grant, you piece of crap. I think what you meant was like, it doesn't feel angsty, like it doesn't feel heartbreaking. You didn't lose where you actually had a chance. You just got leveled. You just got ran over.
He just also said tonight was pathetic. No excuses. I don't disagree with you. Tonight was pathetic. Giving up a leadoff home run is pathetic. Scoring 0 runs, getting 3 hits is pathetic. But
what do you want?
You really feel bad and you're really upset is if
there are some people who that's their default. They can't find any joy.
Where I would feel really upset is if we were on the other side of the last 2 games, then you come out and you play like this. The Cubs were backs against the walls a little bit. If they lost another game, then they're starting to really hear the chirps. And they come out and they're a little more fired up than the Cardinals that just had 2 really emotionally draining games in a row with the way those played out, especially last night.
Yeah.
I think you come out, it happens. Now, if it happens again tomorrow, then I think you are at this time tomorrow, another blowout or even a loss tomorrow.
A loss of any kind tomorrow is gonna leave a sour taste in your mouth because you had them on the ropes in this series. You cannot let it slip away now.
No, you need
They've got Shota Imanaga coming off the injured list. So it's going to be interesting to see how he looks and how the Cardinals are able to attack him. Ideally, you probably don't get a 7-inning outing from him fresh off the IL because of the fact that he's just coming off of it and probably won't be up to a full pitch count, et cetera. So we'll see what it looks like tomorrow. But no, the Cardinals still need to win this series. I mean, that's imperative after you win the first 2 games the way that they did. Chewy's saying, I didn't think we'd sweep the Cubs, but didn't expect Fedde to give up this many runs. Yeah, I didn't think he would be that bad. I thought this would be, in my heart of hearts, probably a loss today because I didn't think it was a very favorable matchup. You make the case that tomorrow is not a very favorable matchup. The Cardinals just don't quite have the handle on some lefties when they face them. Palante's got his work cut out for him tomorrow, but I think it's pretty clear the bats are going to need to be able to get the job done. They score 8 runs in the first 2 games. They don't score any today. It was the Cubs' turn to score 8, apparently. And you're not going to win very many games, or any for that matter, scoring 0. And that's where we were tonight watching this Cardinals team.
Now, I see a lot of comments. So Gray was supposed to start on – when's the last time Gray started?
I believe it was Saturday, if I'm remembering off the top of my tongue.
Yes. So he got some extra rest after the start. Like
Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Thursday would be his day. He's going to pitch Friday.
I'm saying he got some extra rest already with the rain out in Chicago. He got pushed back day 2. Why is he not pitching? I thought the whole point of that was so that he could be set up to pitch against the Cubs. I'll go out and against the Cubs.
No, I think it was more the idea that, I mean, I guess like you can make that point.
The Cubs game and the Guardians, the Cubs has a little more weight for
yeah.
to start.
No, that's fair. And I mean, that would be a question. Again, I obviously here with you would like to know a little bit of the inside thoughts behind that. More than anything, I don't think for me anyway, it's not as much the Cubs, although that's obviously a reason to want to throw your best pitcher against this team. It's his home road splits. Like, I would rather throw Sonny Gray at home than on the road. But I also think the preference might be to have him pitch in a night game where he kind of keeps his regimented routine. You got to throw day games. Like, that's just part of it. But does that play into it at all? I think more than anything, it's they're continuing to buy the extra day for everybody. Everybody not named Michael McGreevy. When you get McGreevy in there, he's the one that is kind of going on regular rest over the past couple of weeks, and everybody else is getting the benefit of that extra day because you're getting kind of into the launch point before you get to the All-Star break. Like, I think that's the idea, is this will be kind of the last chance to get a little bit of extra, and then you'll get hopefully some off days coming up that benefit some of the pitchers, and then you get some rest for the All-Star break, which I don't think any Cardinal starters are going to be All-Stars necessarily, so that's going to be an opportunity for them to get even some additional rest. I hear your point, though. I mean, that's something I hadn't really thought about. Sonny Gray against the Cubs, I think, again, if that was the whole point, they would have done it that way. I think it's continue to get 6 days, buy an extra day during this lengthy stretch, keep guys healthy. That's been a huge theme for the rotation. But would it have been worth it to maybe buck that a little bit, get him against the Cubs, and more than anything, get him at home? Because he's been so much better at Busch than he's been on the road. That's a good point.
I'm just curious because then you pushed him back to Saturday. I was thinking what it should have been was he starts Friday, where he still would have bought an extra day, I believe, on Friday, and then pitched the Wednesday to night.
Well, that would have not Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. That wouldn't have been extra if he had pitched Friday. But it doesn't matter. Like he could have pitched Saturday and still pitched tomorrow on regular rest, is your point, in either of those cases.
Yeah, but I'm saying
they're buying it twice, though. They're buying him an extra day twice because everybody's got an extra day twice. It's not just him. The entire rotation.
But I think he was bought in a couple extra days, wasn't he? Because he was supposed to start. Wasn't that the Wednesday game against the White Sox? He was supposed to start, and it got
maybe that. Back. So maybe that time he did, but you're saying that it would be 7 days and then 5. They're going 7 and 6.
I'm saying what I thought they should have done was he starts Friday against the Reds.
Sure, because it would have lined up
last Friday, and then it would have lined up for him to start the night game tonight on 5 days rest. Is just what I thought they could have done.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure on the math behind that. You might be there's a realm in which you're right. I think part of that conversation would be they probably don't want, he's not the only starter. They don't want Palante to go 7-8 days between because he pitched on the 14th and then the 20th. So if you're pushing Palante back even further, now it's basically a full week between games for him. That's probably more than they want. I get that they might have that a different answer when it's Sonny Gray. Long story short, he's not pitching against the Cubs. And if that burns you up a little bit, I can understand that if you're a Cardinals fan. I'm going to wait, just as I often do. I want to see if there's an explanation for it before I, start railing on it. But it's a fair criticism, or at least a question to go, that's kind of weird. He's been really good. I mean, it's not like we're making up this home road splits thing for Sonny Gray. He has been significantly better at home. I'll grab the splits for you. And for me, talk about the division thing all you want. That's valid and relevant. I might even think the home road is a little bit more so, where Sonny Gray has a 2.76 ERA at home this year, 5.88 on the road. I would try to be manipulating the rotation as much as I can to start him at home. His ERA is double on the road what it's been at home, which is kind of crazy.
But on the other hand, we don't want to talk. If Palante goes and throws 6 innings of 1-run ball like he did last Friday, okay. Oh, well, who cares? You buy an extra day for Gray, and Palante pitched great.
Yeah, I mean, and the Cardinals will be hoping for that for sure. We'll see tomorrow. We'll continue to take your comments here on the Card Central post game, which is presented by Hot Shots. You can find yours at hotshotsnet.com. And all content here on STL Sports Central is powered by DraftKings. The crown is yours. And right now would be a pretty good time. Maybe you think, hey, the next time Erick Fedde starts, you want to make sure to say it's going to be more than on those earned runs allowed. Not to beat up on our guy too much, but that's the kind of thing you can do. Maybe you're saying he's going to have a bounce back next time, so it'll be less than whatever the stat is for the amount of runs he may give up. That's the kind of stuff you do on DraftKings Pick 6, and you combine multiple players across multiple sports to get your entry, and it's really just that simple. So download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code STL Sports. That's code STL Sports if you're a new customer who would like to play $5 and then get $50 in Pick 6 credits. It's really that easy. Better payouts, bigger wins, only from DraftKings Pick 6. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
So I see a comment here that I want to focus on. Then we can continue to get into whatever else you guys want to talk about on this evening as the Cardinals drop the game 3 of the series to the Chicago Cubs 8-0. This from Icto. We lost the Edman trade big time. I actually don't agree with that. I'm going to be the contrarian tonight. Erick Fedde hasn't been great. Tommy Edman obviously had postseason heroism for the Dodgers that we will never forget. It should be known the Cardinals weren't in the playoffs that year, so Tommy Edman was not eligible to be a postseason hero for the Cardinals anyway last season. So it's not like we would have seen that in St. Louis and the Cardinals fans were robbed of it. No, it didn't really happen. This year, Tommy Edman's been a fine player, but would you believe me if I told you his OPS is lower than Nolan Gorman's for the season? It's true. I'm not making that up. 732 coming into tonight. I know that Nolan Gorman's right now is 738, I believe, at the end of the night. Now, I could look and see. If Tommy Edman has hit 2 home runs tonight, maybe that has changed. Give me a moment. He is 1 for 2. So it could be razor thin on the margin, Grant. My point is, Tommy Edman was a great postseason hero for the Dodgers last year. On this Cardinals team, I think he's another one of the players that Cardinals fans are going, get him in the lineup. And then when he's bad, you go, get him out of there. Why aren't they playing Walker? Why aren't they playing Gorman? He would just be another in the mixed bag of guys that you have that all kind of do very similar things, or at least are on similar planes in terms of their talent level or their production this season. Tommy Edman has a 104 OPS plus with a 732 OPS. By the way, Erick Fedde, before tonight anyway, had a 117 ERA plus, which is to say, before tonight, he was 17% better than a league average starter. Tommy Edman has been 4% better than a league average hitter. Now, Erick Fedde is probably right around league average after what happened to him or what he did to y'all tonight. So I would say it's actually pretty similar. And if you want to break the tie on both guys, we're going to be paid around $7.5 million for 2025. The Dodgers have since extended Tommy Edman. Here's what I would say about that. You needed a starter. The Cardinals knew, John Mozeliak knew going into the offseason that they weren't going to spend to bolster the rotation. And many of you out there would say, don't care, McGreevy could have had 40 starts. That's great. But I don't think you could have anticipated the Cardinals rotation staying as healthy as it's been. So if you're going to try to contextualize these decisions and plan in the moment, you would say, man, it would have been pretty risky to come into the season without Erick Fedde. This is why I tried to tell people in February, you can't really afford to just trade him away and cut Miles Mikolas because you don't like him and think that you're going to be able to get through the season at the big league level on innings. Do you think Quinn Matthews is coming? Well, he might be, but he also gave up like 6 runs yesterday, walked 6. Like, some of these prospects need some time. So while I don't think Erick Fedde is a superstar by any means, Tommy Edman has been a solid player. Erick Fedde has been a solid starter where he gives, what'd you say, Grant, 3 out of 5 good ones, and then he bizarros you. And that's what he did tonight. But I actually don't think it's a big-time loss on that Edman trade. I think the Cardinals had a need that they recognized. They needed cost-controlled pitching for one more year, for a year where they knew that John Mozeliak wasn't going to be allowed to spend in free agency. So that's my take on that. I know it's probably contrarian.
I love Tommy Edman. I agree.
Me too.
I thought he was one of my favorite players, but I think looking back,
great guy to cover too.
I was happy about the return of Fedde because I thought Fedde was pretty good with the Sox. I was upset because I liked him a lot more than Brenden Donovan at the time. I thought he was better.
Whoa! That I did not feel.
And now look.
Yeah.
Brenden Donovan would not be your everyday second base, or he would be an everyday second baseman, but who knows if he'd get the same opportunity, make some wins at shortstop. Where does Tommy Edman play? He's taking opportunities away from Walker. He's taking opportunities away from Lars Nootbaar. Or
all the same people that have already been squeezed. Burleson, forget about it. I mean, it would have been tougher to have those guys in there. And who's pitching? McGreevy would be in the rotation. What happens if one injury had happened? And now it's easy with hindsight to say, well, it didn't. We're in late June, and it didn't. I'm telling you, it would have been a recipe for disaster to not have that Fedde spot, just holding down a 4 ERA and getting you through. Cardinals are in the mix. I know that they put up a clunker tonight, but as much as I agree with you, personally, Tommy Edman was one of my favorite players to cover. Just last spring in the clubhouse in Jupiter, I was standing there talking to one of the writers about Pokemon. For whatever reason, I turned to Tommy Edman. I'm like, you remember Pokemon? And we started talking about Pokemon for 5 minutes. Like, he's a fun dude. He's a good dude. And he's the kind of guy you root for, 100%. That being said, I think the Cardinals needed a number 3, number 4 type of starter more than they needed another utility guy.
You also got a lot of money from the Dodgers the Cardinals would not have given him.
That's true, too. You were going to watch Tommy Edman walk away after this season for nothing.
That would have sucked.
Or he would have been traded this July. It just was as much as it pains you to say, hey, this was a guy that you enjoy, and you know he's a winning player. I said it the whole way through. He's a winning player, and the Dodgers was the perfect place for him to go. But it just didn't. It just was one of those moves that I feel like probably had to happen. So Let us know in the comments what your guys' thoughts are on the Edmund conversation or anything else that you're feeling about the Cardinals right now, as they do lose 8-0 to the Cubs, and they will look to still have a chance to claim the series tomorrow afternoon. It is the Mountain game, as Shota Imanaga will oppose Andre Palante. Let's talk some Garrett Hampson. How do we feel about the Garrett Hampson experience? Like, I saw a comment earlier, Grant, that basically said, I don't care, lefty, righty, splits don't matter. Just play your A lineup, play your best lineup. I think that's generally true at this point. I felt when Barrero was here, I was mentioning it to others in the press box just Monday. I said, maybe just be done with this and call up Ciani. Like, just, I know he's a lefty and he doesn't hit, but if you need somebody to come in and play some center field for you, just let it be Ciani. The role that Barrero is serving on this team is not useful to anybody, and you have Sajaci to be a backup to Mason at short. You don't need Barrero here. Well, the Cardinals agreed, but they're trying it with Garrett Hampson, who I don't think is going to hit any better than Barrero did. And that's, maybe he's faster and can play a little bit better defense, but it's just kind of like more of the same, but you're trying something different, which I guess is better than just doing the exact same thing.
Yeah, if you look at, I'm just looking at like the box score and everyone's positions is listed. This is one of the funniest box scores I've ever seen from the Cardinals. When's the last time
it got crazy at the end? Yeah,
players played center, shortstop, and pitcher all in the same game.
Jose Oquendo, man. I mean, that's great.
Third and second. There were 2 first basemen. Scott was in center at some point. Sajaci played second and short. Gorman was DHing and playing third. Like,
Jose Fermin's getting in the action. I mean, that's good stuff.
He got a hit. I mean,
he did get a hit. 1 of 4.
This is something. I get that Hampson, pardon me, can play center and short, but it feels like the time that if you have Fermin up here, like, why is Ciani not up here? Ciani at least has one X factor in his game. He's a lefty and he can run. I mean, he's
you know
really
what? Fermin,
like,
here's something interesting. Fermin came into the game today for Mason Wynn. Guess where he played positionally? 2 different places on the infield, third and second. Guess where he didn't play? Short. He's not ever in his life as a big leaguer played an inning at short for the St. Louis Cardinals. Did you know that? Pretty sure it's still true. He doesn't look. They don't see him. I can look. I can double check the math on this, but I don't believe he's ever done it.
I'll put my hand up right now. I was not watching by the 7th inning. I was doing
you're on the post game.
In an 8-0 game, I saw what I needed to see.
Like, yeah, I got the picture.
So seeing the pitcher, all this stuff is madness to me.
But I point this out to say, Fermin has never played a big league inning at shortstop. He's never stood there for Oliver Marmol's team at the shortstop position. Now, what does that tell you? He's been on the Cardinals for a while. He's been the utility guy. They're sometimes in need of it. I just don't think they see him defensively as a shortstop. Full stop. He plays there at times in the minor leagues as a big leaguer. I just don't think that they think that's a position for him. So that's probably part of it, is you do want that in case of emergency backup to Mason Wynn. And Barrero was that. Hampson is now going to sort of also be that as well. Sajaci, though, can be that, to your point.
Yeah.
I would, to me, and what's interesting is you do usually have a right-handed heavy bench now. Like, there's no lefties on your normal bench because they're all in the lineup when you want them to be. So, like, you don't have any pinch hitters on this entire roster. Like, the guys who start are going to play and they're going to hit unless you're in a blowout like tonight. They don't have a role that's like, I'm coming off the bench and subbing in for the opposite-handed guy who's in a bad matchup now, so I'm going to come in. They don't really have
one
that.
that I can think of is when Burleson, Gorman, and Walker are all healthy. Normally one of those guys on the bench that can pinch hit, but that's it.
Yeah, but who's he batting for?
Let's pinch hit him. Or, like, at least with Ciani, and I saw something like he can't hit. I agree, but at least he's a lefty that I think back to a few, it might have been last week where there was a chance you need to lay a bunt down. And the Cardinals had no one on the bench or on the team that could lay a bunt down. At least Ciani would be there to lay a bunt down. Like, I agree with this. It's silly to have Hampson here over Ciani. I don't understand it.
What my argument was about Michael Ciani at the beginning of the season was, like, I thought he should have been on the team. I felt good about him being on the team, but then they started slow. And I said, Ciani is the type of player that winning teams, good teams, have the luxury to be able to house on their bench. when you're not winning, it's kind of like, oh, really? That you're not going to be able to bring him in up 3-2 in the 8th inning for defense. You're not going to be able to do that because you're not usually winning. There was a stretch in April where the Cardinals weren't winning. And I said, you might have to bring up some pop off the bench. They don't have a lot of pop off the bench type of guys in the minors. I'd be cool with it, though, in saying, look, they do have a lot of righties. None of them they really want to pinch hit for anybody. Go ahead and just call up Nathan Church if you think that he is ready. Now, he had just been promoted from AA. He's killing it, has been in AAA. And so maybe it's a little bit premature to say, yeah, he's gonna make that leap all the way from AA to the bigs in the same season. They want to see a little bit more of him. But he's a left-handed bat. And at a certain point, I'm like, I don't know, maybe that wouldn't be the worst thing is to have one more left-handed bat. I know that all the lefties that you like, they're normally in the lineup, and so you feel left-handed heavy, but it would only be like the 6th lefty on your team, and then you'd have 7 righties. I don't think that would be the worst thing in the world. And there comes a point, too, where all these machinations of lefty, righty, how big of an advantage can you gain because of the splits? If a guy's OPSing 470, he's OPSing 470. If he's hitting 175, he's hitting 175. It doesn't matter what hand he hits with. So that's kind of my thought on that. Fermin bats right-handed. Why do they play him at shortstop in AAA? Because they're trying as they might, but I think as he gets to the big league level, there's a glass ceiling for him there that has not yet been shattered for all the years he's been on the team. They just don't really think of him as a shortstop. He's more of a utility guy that can play second, can play third, and in a pinch, they'll stick him in a corner outfield spot. But that is at the big league level the way that he is viewed by this organization. You may not like that. I'm just telling you that it is a fact of life. You can always see how a team feels about a certain situation by seeing what they do. That's kind of been my story when it comes to, Herrera's the catcher. Well, no, he's not really. Pedro Pajes is the catcher, and Herrera catches sometimes. How do I know? Because that's what they do. That's my take on that. I'm glad that Fermin's finally getting his chance, though. He thought he was going to be on the team to begin the year, and obviously that didn't really happen. So
I like Fermin.
Here they are. Yeah, no, and I think he's got a 919 OPS in AAA. He has been the epitome of like rake in AAA and then come up and kind of not really get a rhythm because he doesn't get to play regularly. There's a world in which like a guy like Jose Fermin, after all these years, he deserves to be on a Chicago White Sox type of team for a little bit, or a Rockies, where it's like, I don't know, we're losing. Let's find out if this guy's any good, because he's had really good AAA numbers, but it's hard to do that with a player when you've kind of got 10 other guys that you're trying to get in there on a daily basis. And so that's what Jose Fermin has always run into with the Cardinals. He needs to be on a team where he just play. Like, that's probably what the best thing for his career would be. But, the Cardinals are basically like, we know he's like a kind of useful player, so we're not just going to give him away for nothing. That's sort of always been their stance.
Is anyone else batting 1,000 this year?
It's a good point. He should be in there tomorrow against the lefty. You think he will be? I mean, that'd be interesting. I don't know.
The thing is, he plays a middle infield spot or third base that the Cardinals are fine at. Like, that's
they got the JC, they got Arenado, they got Gorman, they got Donovan. It's tough. The best thing for him would have been a trade several years ago.
I'm just surprised they called him up when the retroactive move was putting Jordan Walker on the IL. That was just surprising to me.
Okay, but let's play this out. Who would you have called up given those circumstances, with Walker being the guy that was out?
Well, what was the move to put Hampson on? Was it Barrero?
Yeah, Barrero. They're the same player, basically.
I would probably called up another outfielder. Like, I probably would have called up Ciani. And if we were putting Walker on the bench, I probably would have called up an outfielder, Ciani. They
clearly want to have the right-handed thing because that's what Valade was. That's what Barrero was. They're trying it down with Hampson. None of them can hit. It's just kind of what it is.
I just find it weird sending down an outfielder and calling, or not sending down, but an outfielder is removed and you're then call up an infielder.
Fermin plays outfield too. I mean, he's played some outfield in AAA. That was sort of the whole, not a lot, but he's played 61 innings there this season, 128 at third, 230 at second. By the way, just 41 at short. So he's played more outfield this year than shortstop in AAA. So I'm just saying he's not a shortstop
in the outfield. Like,
what's that?
I would be shocked to see him in the outfield, like as a starter, maybe as a.
Yeah, only because Hampson's here. I wouldn't be shocked if they didn't have Hampson. But also, I want to mention, like, when you have the situation that the Cardinals do with guys like Donovan that can move around, JC can move around, Burleson's kind of an infielder, outfielder, it gives them a little bit more cover to where you don't have to specifically do like for like right now. And since Fermin does have a little bit of outfield experience, I guess they figure in a pinch, but it's going to be Nootbaar out there. Burleson has kind of, because of his bat, turned himself into a more full-time outfielder for this team. I agree with you, though. Siani would have been more valuable than Barrero, and I'll give Hampson a couple of days, but I think like Siani is limited in his scope. He's not, much of a hitter at the big league level to what he's shown in his career to this point. But boy, can he run, and boy, can he play outfield defense. And that's a guy you'll use every single game if you're up 4-2 in the ninth inning. You'll bring him in for defense. I mean, that's something that can be useful when you're up. To the question of, I saw a question in here about Koperniak. Yeah, his numbers stink. A couple of things. His numbers stink this year. It looked good last year, but not good this year. And he's left-handed too. They just do not have those right-handed hitting outfielders. That's why they did the Valade thing in the first place. I didn't say it was like just the best move they've ever made, but they were trying to figure out some right-handed hitting outfielders because you look at the big league level. You want Victor in there. You want Burleson right now to be in there. Nootbaar is going to be in there. Donovan, whether he's in left or at second base, is going to be in there. If Donnie's in left, well, your other second baseman is a lefty, and Gorman. Where's the righty? Well, it's Walker. He had his appendix issue, but apparently didn't have it taken out. What's that?
I say he can't catch a break.
Yeah, that's a bummer. It's kind of weird that he had the appendicitis, but I saw from John Denton, and correct me if someone else has said differently, but that he didn't get it taken out. He got some medication and he's going to rest now. I've never heard of that with an appendix. I'm no doctor. Let me put that out there first.
I thought like if it, and again, this is a little bit.
We're going to get into some medical grade talk here.
I thought that it's like if it like bursts and completely ruptures, you got to get out. But I thought there's something where like you can't, like if you catch it a little too late, you can't take it out for so long.
Okay,
it's got to be like
you could say any words right now and I'd be like, yeah, that's true. That's what I heard too. Like I don't know.
Yeah,
here we go.
Okay.
It could be inflamed and not burst. But here's my thought: is like if it's kind of inflamed, wouldn't you want to just take it out? You don't need it. I mean, it's just I don't want to make light of a medical issue that Jordan Walker is currently enduring. But from what I understand, like it's kind of extra. It's like a spare part. You could take it out if you wanted to. So like if I had an inflamed one, I'd be like, hey doc, can you maybe just take it out because I don't want to be on the IL again in August. Because, but to your point, if there's like a delay where it's like, it's at this point we can't take it out because we got to do whatever, and then we'll take it out. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not a doctor.
Like, he's hitting well. Then what? He rolls up on his ankle and is on the IL.
It's been a bad break for sure.
Then he slowly gets back into it, and he hasn't been hitting as well, but he's been usable, like fine. And then his appendix burst.
Burst.
Yeah,
if it did, it wouldn't be in his body anymore. So I'm going to say it was.
Is what we'll call it.
He had inflamed. There you go. I'm Doogie Howser, Doogie Schaeffer, MD. I do not have a medical degree. I was going to say I don't have a degree of any kind, but I do. It's like sitting right back there in that thing. Anyway,
I have the same one now.
Yeah, there you go. Aaron says Brian Torres and Cesar Prieto are hitting well. That's actually a guy. I know both are lefties and infielders, but I'm done with Fermin and Baker. Well, Baker's not even up here. I want to see Cesar Prieto on the Cardinals for a minute this year. Like, I don't care if he's a lefty. I don't care that he probably could not stand in the outfield, and you've got all these infielders. I think Prieto should be. I'm going to be honest with you, especially once they get like a Herrera back or a Walker back. I think you put Cesar Prieto in the Sajaci spot because Sajaci's not playing. I mean, he played today, but he's not going to play much. So we'll see. I like to see Sajaci. I know that's going to be like considered a war crime for me to say that they should send Sajaci down. I just think if he's not going to play regularly, Prieto would be maybe a fun guy off the bench, and I would like to see him because I think he's got a good hit tool.
I agree with that. And it's a guy that with Sajaci, you're upset.
There you go.
Getting the at-bats.
Yeah.
So it's fine. A guy that can come off the bench and play, and you're more okay that, he's kind of at his development, I guess. And hey, Jeremy, journalism is a degree. Yep.
There you go.
2 journalists.
Is that what you got? I don't actually have that. I've got sport management.
Oh, I got journalism, baby.
There you go. Well, you're better than me.
The illustrious
you're better than me.
Day school.
Yeah, I said I don't want to do that. My concern, frankly, was like I was in the middle of the J school and I was like, if they make me go, I'm not going to say a town because I don't want to offend anybody if they're listening in from this town. But if they make me go to such and such, and I've got to be like a newspaper reporter covering local government, I will not stick in this career field. So it's like, let's do something with sports. And then here I am doing kind of media type stuff. Anyway, that's my my 30-second backstory. Quickly before we get out of here, because Matt Rocchio is going to have my ass if we don't get off in time for him to get to talk about the STL City game, which is big doings. Love soccer. People are talking about the draft a little bit, which is coming up here in the next few weeks. And there's talk that the Cardinals at the number 5 spot are going to maybe take one of those high school shortstops who are pretty good. And that's what I think they should do. And no, I don't care that Mason Wynn's a shortstop. No, I don't care that J.J. Weatherholt is a shortstop. Hear me. If you hear one thing from this episode of Card Central Postgame, presented by Hot Shots and brought to you by DraftKings, the crown is yours. Hear this. It doesn't matter what position these guys are when they're a shortstop, because they can then play anywhere. It means they're a really good athlete. If I'm drafting a high school player and he's not a pitcher, he damn well better be a shortstop, because that means he's the best player on the field, at least on his high school team. Unless he's a left-handed thrower, in which case that's fine. Hopefully he's a slugger. But yeah, I don't mind it being a shortstop. I almost prefer that it would be, because I think you get one shot at this at the number 5 spot. The Cardinals haven't drafted at the 5 spot in a long, long time. It was 7 with Weatherholt, but that was, because they were actually kind of bad that year. They got lucky this time with an 83-win season that they're getting to draft at number 5. Shortstops are athletes. Don't worry about, well, we got Sajasi, we got Weatherholt, we got Mason Wynn. They'll move them as they need to. It's more about that's just because those are the best athletes.
Your job in this draft, whoever it is, whoever you draft the best player available. Whether that's the 5th best player, or maybe you get lucky and draft the 1st best player. You draft, throw positions out of the window. You draft whoever the best player is there. That's my philosophy in the MLB draft. Is every time it should be best player available, because
you're not drafting for need. Like, oh, we need a third baseman. No, you'd have no idea what you're going to need in 5 years when the high school player is up.
You draft your best pitcher or the best player available.
Would you draft a pitcher, though? Chewy says they should draft a pitcher at 5. I mean, you're going to get a premium arm, but they can go kablooey, and then you go, oh, I wish we hadn't drafted a pitcher.
You think he's the best player? He's the best player. Whoever that is.
That's where I disagree. I think you at least have to have a philosophy of, like, if we're taking a pitcher, you know what that entails. Like, you have to, that's risk mitigation of, like, what's the opportunity cost of passing up on one of these, high school shortstop studs who in 5 years is going to be, Mason Wynn. Like, you do have to, I think, mitigate that risk. I would rather see a position player when you're that high in the draft personally, because I don't care if a guy throws 105, his arm probably explodes soon. That's just the way it is.
There's not a Paul Skeens in this draft. There's not a guy in this draft at the pitching role that you're like, yes, he will be the ace of my squad in 3 to 4 years. It's a lot more volatile. Wow.
Yeah, volatile. It's a hard word. Volatile, volatile.
They didn't teach me to speak, obviously, at the Jays.
How many different ways can we say that word?
All
right.
But you find the best player, and I agree. I would like it to be a position player because of starting pitching being he can blow out his arm, and then he's done.
Which, like, you have to eventually draft good pitchers. Like, that's the thing. But when you're at number 5, it's like, be the team that when you're drafting at 22, identify a good college arm and go there. Look, they got Quinn Matthews in the 4th round. You should be drafting pitchers in bulk later on in the draft. At number 5, you have a rare chance to potentially add a middle order or a top of your lineup type of bat 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road. That would be my preference to see what the Cardinals do. The draft will be held July 13th and 14th in Atlanta, Georgia. That is over the All-Star break. So that answers Ernest's question. We're going to get out of here before Matt Rocchio comes to my house and rips my head off. It's going to be the STL City post game coming up right after us here. So just keep it locked on STL Sports Central. But this has been the Card Central post-game show presented by Hot Shots, home of St. Louis sports fans since 1990. Find yours at hotshotsnet.com, and all the content here on STL Sports Central, including the several articles that I've written over the past couple of days. You can go on the website and check those out. The one I really enjoyed from earlier in the week about Matthew Liberatore, basically telling Dusty Blake, here's what pitch I'm throwing to get us out of this jam. And then it worked against Dan Happ. That was kind of a fun one that you can go check out on the website. But all the content, including that, is presented by DraftKings. The crown is yours. For Grant, I'm Brenden. We're done for now, and we'll see you tomorrow.